Good evening. This is the regularly scheduled September 21st, 2021 meeting of the City of Geneva Historic Preservation Commission. I am Chairman Paul Zomer. Please note, in accordance with COVID protocol, all elected or appointed officials, staff, visitors must wear face covering while in City Hall regardless of vaccination status. In order to help reduce background noise, I would remind all commissioners, whether here in person or attending remotely, to mute themselves except when addressing the commission, applicant, or staff. In addition, it is common courtesy to all involved, any remote participants, elected consultants, staff, or citizens should use headphones when speaking during the meeting. This will eliminate any echo or feedback caused by external speakers. This meeting will include a video conference utilizing GoToWebinar virtual platform. With our use of electronic meeting platform for this meeting, there may be some technical difficulty as we move through our agenda, so please be patient. Every individual desiring to listen to and or participate in this meeting have been provided with the opportunity through virtual participation information included in various public notices and the agenda for this meeting. Public participants may either provide comments through written comments submitted prior to this meeting or by speaking in person at this meeting. When it is time for the public comment, staff may choose to read into the record any comments received in writing in advance of the meeting. Following the reading of any written comments, both in-person attendees and members of the virtual audience will be able to provide comment in an alternating manner. With the in-person attendees beginning first, this will allow time for any members of the virtual audience who wish to speak to raise their hand through the virtual meeting platform hand-raising feature. Virtual audience members will then be called upon, unmuted, and given an opportunity to comment. After providing comment, each speaker will be muted once again. Please note that there may be slight delay between becoming unmuted and being able to begin speaking. All comments will be recorded so that written minutes can be prepared for this meeting. Finally, a reminder that all speakers, in person, remote, are asked to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. If inappropriate language or comments are expressed during this meeting, the speaker will be muted and the speaker's participation ended. It is important that items scheduled for tonight be heard to allow for the city business to move ahead and continue without delay, to enable ongoing development, protection of property values, and preservation of resources, and the promotions of the city's economic vitality. I now call this scheduled meeting to order of the Geneva Historic Preservation Commission. Okay. With that, I think the first thing on our agenda is a roll call.
Hartman?
Here.
McManus? Here. Solomon?
Here.
Stazen?
Here.
Jensen?
Here.
Zinke? Here. And Chairman Zellmer.
Here.
You have a quorum?
Great, thank you. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the meeting, approval of the meeting minutes of August 17th, 2021. Does anyone have any comments about those? And if not, can I get a motion to approve them?
Fine, motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we roll call on this or? Okay.
All right. Hartman?
Aye.
McManus?
Aye.
Solomon?
Aye.
Stazen?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Zinke?
Aye.
And Chairman Zellmer.
Aye, but I don't need to abstain, do I? Abstain? I've been told two different things on that, but that's okay. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is a 5-minute field guide from Mr. Lambert. You have the floor. Uh-oh, he's trying to get, having our technical difficulties.
Thank you, Chairman Zellmer. Tonight's 5-minute field guide is thoughtful response, minimal traditional houses. Tonight, this HPC meeting is focused on middle-class modernism that was rooted in both necessity and a societal shift in aesthetics during the middle of the 20th century. Created by Congress in 1934 during the depths of the Great Depression, the Federal Housing Administration, or the FHA, assisted many veterans and families in attaining home ownership in the 1940s and 1950s. In the waning years of World War II, the FHA published a pamphlet recommending simplicity in domestic homes and advocated the elimination of unnecessary gables and dormers, breaks and roof lines, and the use of elaborate architectural details. The side gable version of a minimal traditional house is often called a Cape Cod. It was a popular version of the minimal traditional style that incorporated low-pitched roofs with minimal or no eave, double-hung multi-light windows, and restrained architectural details. The FHA recommended that these practical homes of the minimal traditional style concentrate on scale, careful placement of windows and doors, and cladding the house in a single material to make these houses appear as large as possible. The FHA recommended that if two materials were used, it was suggested that the material should be of the same or similar color. However, later versions of the minimal traditional style house often featured sporty and colorful exterior paint schemes. The FHA in 1940 suggested that the only ornamentation of these houses should be limited to simple porches with a decorative support, bay windows, platform steps, and perhaps a decorative multi-panel door. According to architectural historian Virginia Savage McAllister, the minimal traditional house was the little house that could. It was the small house that could be built with FHA-insured loans in the midst of the Great Depression between 1935 and 1940. It was the house that could be built quickly to accommodate millions of relocating World War II production plant workers between 1941 and 1945. And it was the house that could be built rapidly during the 1940s in the large post-World War II housing developments across the United States between 1941 and 1949. These late 1940s developments were necessary to begin to fulfill the wartime GI Bill promise that every returning serviceman would be able to purchase a home. Rather than small houses cheaply built of inferior materials, the minimal traditional house was usually constructed of the same quality materials as larger, more expensive homes. Where they differed was in the number of built-ins and the interior finishes. The average size was about 800 square feet, and often the only cabinetry were the sink and a counter unit in the kitchen, possibly a bathroom closet and a linen closet in the hall. The result was a small house with very few exotic decorative details. Architects who had been desperate for work after 1930 enthusiastically turned their attention to the design of small houses. Over the next 2 decades, a veritable flood of house plan and pattern books featuring these practical small houses were published. However, by 1950, a more prosperous America was desiring a more spacious home, and the minimal traditional house gave way to the ranch house. In Geneva, many of these minimal traditional houses were built in the northwest addition to Geneva, which is located west of 7th Street and north of State Street. However, a number of minimal traditional houses, as pictured here, were built and survived within the boundaries of the designated historic districts of Geneva. Although a few have been remodeled and enlarged from their original form, many still survive in their original architectural character. Are there any questions or comments about tonight's 5-minute field guide?
Mr. Lambert, I believe several, maybe 3 of the 4 houses here are ones that have come before the commission over time.
At least one of them will be coming to us, and possibly 2 of them. Yeah, 2 or 3 of them. Yes. Mm-hmm. It's a little understood domestic architecture style, underappreciated.
I have a question. Has this ended in 49?
Again, the dates of construction vary across the country, so those are broad dates. And some builders, of course, got very used to building a particular style of home, whether it was a Greek revival or minimal traditional, and they built them long after the fad had passed.
Right.
But typically you see these disappearing around 1950. Again, as America became more prosperous, they were building larger homes.
So I'll be interested to learn then what happened between 50 and 59, so that's probably another topic for another day then.
If you would like me to pursue that, I always am happy to take suggestions or inquiries for 5-minute field guides.
Given the number of homes built in that post-war period, yes, I would be interested.
Okay, well, that will be forthcoming then. I will add that to my list.
And then another thing for your list, what about all the bungalows that were built? Not so many in Geneva?
There's a fair number, not a lot in the historic district. Actually, there's more just outside of the historic district,
Or
either
on
the
the
east side
on the east
or
side, yeah.
in the northwest additions.
Predated, they weren't those more 30s into?
Early
think the
1900s to 1930s.
Right.
But then, and then also went into the 50s and 60s, the modern style bungalow. In Chicago, there were, oh my gosh, miles and miles of light colored brick bungalows that were built. I grew up in one.
Right. Chicago's ubiquitous with the bungalow
Yes,
style. So.
yes.
So again, if there's others who have suggestions for future 5-minute field guides, you can send those to me at any time.
Very good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is review of building permit applications, 124 West State Street. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Chairman Zelmer. Tonight's first case and only case is 124 West State Street. It is case number 2021-082. It's proposed exterior modifications to a commercial building. Again, it's right to the northwest of us here. The property is located in the Central Geneva Historic District along State Street. It's towards the eastern half of our local historic district. The proposal is to renovate the existing building for a new restaurant. As you read in the agenda item, the building was built between 1952 and 1953 and is one of the handful of mid-century modern commercial buildings within the Geneva Historic District. Very briefly, I gave you more details in the agenda packet. But this property has gone through a lot of transitions and transformations, so its early history has been lost. Again, the property site consisted of 3 wood frame buildings up until 1953. It was 2 stores and a boarding house. In February of 1953, the block caught on fire, destroying the bank at the corner and taking out this property as well. The property was rebuilt as a hardware store. Mr. Rosenfelder had opened the hardware store in the blue building in 1934, and actually in 1952 had begun construction of a large concrete block warehouse that survived the fire and still stands as part of the complex. The property was not highly visible until 1962, when the city of Geneva bought the old Geneva Steam Laundry building and then proceeded to burn that down in March of 1962. So the property is approximately 70 years old. Actually, this week would have been the grand opening 68 years ago on September 25th. And it's been visible, both the State Street and the east elevations have been visible for almost 60 years at this point. After the fire had done its damage, the new building was erected, and it's shown here at the far left, and then the building at the far right was built as the First National Bank. It's now Geneva Cleaners. A historic mid-19th century brick building survived the fire in between the 2 buildings, but we do have 2 of our very pure modern buildings being built right here on this block. And also across the street is another strip of some of our mid-century modern buildings. So this block has a concentration, probably the greatest concentration in the historic district of mid-century modern commercial buildings, which I think a lot of people overlook that and don't realize that we have this little concentration right here in this part of the historic district. For reference, we have a handful of other mid-century modern buildings in the historic district. And they have gone through a variety of either being very well preserved or having been remodeled over time. Those images on the screen marked with a blue diamond are some of our mid-century modern commercial structures that have been altered. And those without a diamond are those that have survived fairly well intact. We do have one mid-century modern home in the district that's shown on the right-hand side, which has been before you, before this commission in recent months, being rehabbed and being returned back to its 1960 era.
Do you consider the one on the house on South Street to be mid-century modern?
South Street, which one?
South Street and 6th, basically?
That's actually new traditional.
Okay,
That's a fine line that we can talk about
definitely.
another night.
Okay,
So we don't hold this one up. So again, with mid-century modern commercial buildings and residences, they're very minimalistic in their architecture often. So trying to help you identify what the facade components are of a mid-century modern, I've heard from at least one commissioner who has a little bit of, maybe not, a little bit of challenge with these modern buildings that don't have much architecture to them. So the facade components consist of simple rectangular forms, floor-to-ceiling storefront glazing. In this case, it's got an angular recessed entry, which again was a fairly common feature, some type of recessed entry. Clear anodized storefront framing, again expressing the purity of the material. Clear glazing, so again the glass is not tinted. This particular building has a dark textured Roman brick. Roman brick, for those who are not familiar with that term, is an elongated, thinner brick than your standard brick size. And interestingly enough, the bulkhead or the exposed foundation at the front of the store is not stone. It's actually exposed concrete that's been trowel finished and scored to resemble limestone. The east side is constructed of Chicago common brick with steel frame multi-light windows, and then the 1952-53 two-story addition at the rear is simply utilitarian painted block with, again, steel frame multi-light windows. So even though it looks like a very simple building, there are a lot of components that make up the visual architecture of the building. For reference, this is the current restaurant that exists at Ottawa, Illinois, to kind of give you an idea of what the corporate branding looks like. With this existing facade, it also has simple rectangular forms. It did preserve a historic tile roof, has floor-to-ceiling storefront glazing. It's got a dark aluminum storefront. It does not have tinted window glazing. I want to correct that. It's just that the picture was taken without the restaurant being open, so there was no light coming through. So it does have clear glazing like is present in the current building here in Geneva. It does expose some of the architectural details, the piers and the horizontal line around the front facade, and it consists of painted brick along the dining patio, which is very similar to what's being proposed here at Geneva. So you have a reference of what the goal of the project is here at Geneva. For reference, there's a floor plan that we can reference throughout the evening if we need to understand where the different components are. The proposed elevations as submitted in the permit drawings show on the State Street side the storefront being reconstructed in its existing configuration, and then the windows at the far two-story warehouse being replaced, so the steel windows would be replaced with an aluminum window. The two vertical lines actually are shifted on this drawing. There should be right over at the far left side of the one-story addition, and that is the chimney that's being proposed to be removed that you can see on the east elevation. On the east elevation, the components are again to preserve the storefront, and then to insert an overhead garage door in place of some of the existing windows, to build or to install new doors. One is in an existing opening, the other is being placed in an opening that has been closed up over time. So those both were doorway openings at one point. And then replacing the windows, and then also installing a metal fire escape from the fire stair from the second floor of the rear addition. Hopefully all of you have gone by and walked around the property to familiarize yourself with it, but if you have not, these pictures show two things. It shows the recessed entry from both views, both from the east and the west, but it also shows the characteristic glass detailing of this period with a very shallow profile at the front. So again, it creates a very flush storefront, and they've addressed that with the proposed glazing system, which I'll talk about here in a moment. Again, why they're replacing the steel, or why they're replacing the storefront, it is an antiquated system with single pane glazing. It's a screwed together minimalistic aluminum storefront, and you can see the condition at several of the joints where the screwed angles have separated, or the storefront's been dented and damaged. And actually on the lower right side you can see that it is the framing separating, coming apart. And on the upper right image you can see that the glass is actually cracking in several spots. So these are large expanses of thin plate glass, and again would be hard to retrofit for safety and energy. The east side of the building, as I said, was not originally intended to be easily viewed. However, for almost 60 years now, it has been visible to the public since these were turned into parking lots in 1962 and the ensuing years. So there's an overall view. You can see the chimney that's being proposed to be removed down to the top of the one-story portion of the building. You can see on the upper right the difference between the Roman brick, the very thin brick, that's the dark textured brick, versus the Chicago common brick, which is all being proposed to be painted. On the lower right is an image of that sand finished, trowel finished concrete that resembles limestone, but it's actually the concrete foundation. And then just to show some of the conditions they're dealing with, this is a detail on the east side. You can see that some of the concrete is actually spalled and it's exposed in the rebar in that crevice on the lower left. So some of the structural element of the building is exposed on the side. Again, just kind of going around to see some of the conditions if you have not been to the site. Upper right shows that there's been pointing that's been done over time that does not match the character of the original masonry work, so it doesn't match in texture or scale of the joint or material. Just an example of the quality of the masonry work on the east side. Two images on the lower left that show you the condition of the concrete block addition. There's a lot of structural cracking in the wall, and there's been patching that's been done over time. And again, these are the steel framed multi-light windows that are being proposed to be replaced with an aluminum product. And then just also to show that over time, and it's been this way since I've been here at Geneva, but over time, pretty significant vines have been allowed to grow on the concrete block, and those will all be removed and will clean up that condition, which is contributing to the deterioration of the concrete block at this time. This is just kind of a graphic to help everybody understand the architectural drawings in case you have a hard time reading them. So the pink is where the existing decorative face brick is located on the building on both the State Street and the east side. The yellow areas are the proposed infill based on the submitted drawings and existing conditions. Blue is where there's proposed masonry removal, and then green is the proposed mechanical ductwork removal on the existing building. Again, as I mentioned in the staff report, and I'll mention several times tonight, while we do not, cannot regulate painting of unpainted masonry, our design guidelines do suggest that unpainted masonry should not be painted. They did submit a paint sample of what the paint is being proposed. I do have that here if anybody is interested in seeing that. But I did put the mock-up on the building so you can kind of see how close the color is on that they're planning to paint the building to the original color of the building that stands there today. These are enlarged views of what was submitted to you in the cut sheets, but this is at the upper left is the overhead door that's being proposed. On the upper right is the service window that is also an overhead acting type of door. And then on the lower right is the kind of the generic or standard 4-light window they're proposing to replace the multi-light windows around the building. The lower left image is a picture of the samples here. As I mentioned, the traditional division of the glass would be on the left, where the glass sits in the middle of the aluminum framing. They are proposing a different style after conversations about with staff about trying to replicate the historic appearance. So what they're actually proposing is the section on the right, which puts the glass forward. So it would have the same, so the glass would sit here, so it has kind of the same appearance of the current glass situation. So these are here also if anybody would like to see those during the meeting. Finally, we're getting close to final. The metal railings are being proposed for the east side. Again, the staircase is a necessity to meet code. It's a fairly straightforward pipe railing with a 1 1/4 square pipe rail for the top, and then metal balusters, steel balusters, and that would all be painted. It would be steel tread, so again, a fairly simple staircase. And then the liquor barrier or patio protection fence is also a metal fence that would be, again, matching the dark color that is being proposed for the aluminum elsewhere in the building. This is a little bit misleading, but I did have a question from one of the commissioners about whether safety rails would be required, and I'm going to let the applicants talk a little bit more about this because this is probably a little misleading because there's actually a parapet wall. I thought there was just a curb on here, so I'll let the applicants address the depth of the parapet wall and how the mechanical equipment might actually be visible or not visible in the finished product. But this will be a reference drawing more than anything for discussion. So on a mid-century modern building, as you know, I've brought mid-century modern buildings to this commission because it's a gray area. The 1999 survey did not pick up buildings built after 1949. And yet the 2016 survey that was done by the National Park Service in the state of Illinois and Update Our National Register identified buildings as contributing that were not picked up or that were built before 1966. Which this building falls into that. So again, it falls into gray areas. So where there are gray areas, I am able to bring those cases to you to make a determination. So in summary discussion, I've just kind of summarized, I think, the points that would be helpful both to the applicant and to the commission is to make a determination on this commission whether the building is a notable mid-century modern building, either individually or collectively with other mid-century modern commercial buildings. And then I think it's helpful in the discussion after the applicant goes through his details or their details that you identify what the commission feels are the character defining features, because that is what we're really concerned with as a commission to try to protect character is what we determine to be character defining. And then lastly, is applying the SOI standards, which we have again on the boards in front of us, in front of the dais, which are guiding principles for reviewing projects and making sure that the project is in compliance with the applicable standards. In the staff report that was published in the agenda packet, I did identify each facade separately and went through my staff opinion as to whether or not the various components met or did not meet the SOI standards. And then lastly, as always, is the commission to determine, based on the SOI standards and our design guidelines, the appropriateness of proposed materials, modification, and details of the historic building. So with that, I would like to turn the podium over to Mr. McFarland and Cody Renkoskit. I always get it backwards. Renkoskit are here to answer your questions, and I can go backwards or forwards to any place in the presentation you would like to start. So you're welcome to step the.
Well, you did such a good job. I don't know if I need to.
Could
say
you state
anything.
your name for the,
Mike McFarland.
okay,
I'm the general contractor,
okay,
and then the owner's here, Cody Renkosik.
great, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for all coming tonight. First of all, I guess I'll just kind of reiterate what we're looking to do, and then you can ask me whatever questions you want. As far as the glass for the storefront, Michael pointed out that a bunch of it's cracked. It's plate glass. It's not safety glass. So if that falls out, it's just going to shatter and somebody's going to end up getting hurt. I had multiple commercial companies come out. There's a big deflection in the glass. If you actually go up to like the middle of it and you push on it, it actually will go in and out 2 inches. Nobody can say how long it's going to last, but the screws are rusted. And that wasn't something that we really wanted to get into with the storefront just because of the expense of it. But we really don't have a choice. And it's a single pane of glass. There's no R value to it. There's no insulation value to it. The supports, there's no thermal, break in it or anything. And then talking with our HVAC contractors, if that glass was going to stay, we have to run baseboard heaters all the way around the front because we're not going to keep the building warm for anybody. So that's why, talking with Michael, we proposed this Conair system, which the glass is offset to the front. The frames have a thermal barrier in them, so they're insulated. The glass will be clear glass. The frames look just like it does right now. They're like a 1/4 inch wider on the uprights. We do want to switch the color to black, just to go with the theme of where we're at with the other restaurants that we've built. That's the big reason for the glass. We're keeping the sliding door and the way that it 45s out. We're keeping all that. You guys probably haven't been in the building, but all those old windows that are in the building, they're leaking. The water comes through. They don't operate anymore. They're also single pane glass. So to keep the common look, we just want to replace those with a nice insulated frame and insulated glass also. As far as the garage door being put in, and I know the air conditioner unit is gone. That's coming down off the side. That's actually just an air conditioner unit. Part of that too, when we want to take that chase down, we were up there and that chase, the brick is falling off of it. And it kind of sways. It did house, that whole building was run off of a boiler system. So that was the flue pipe going up for the boiler system. And then the boiler ran the back unit, but it also it was all buried in the ceilings of the building. And through the years of it sitting, the pipes broke all over. And then that leaked all through the ceiling. And I know it was repaired numerous times by Heavenly Bikes and stuff in the little workout facility. They had puddles all over. But it's not an efficient thing. So we just wanted to take the chase down to the top of the coping that's on the building now, and then cap it off with another limestone cap so it looks just like the coping that's on the existing lower building. And I'm not opposed if you guys had something and said, hey, can you leave it 2 feet up? That's not an issue. I'm more worried about our proposed patio that's going outside, that falls, and then somebody's going to get hurt because it's not safe. And it's not going to be used for anything that we're doing. The outdoor patio we want to propose is with the garage door. I know some people ask about the garage door being in the front. That happens to be, there's structural beams inside, so we have to keep that garage door towards the front. It has to fall within the the structural columns that are holding up the roof. So we're trying to offset it as back as far as we can to the one column, but the column span is like 19.6 and the garage door is 16 foot. So we're trying to keep it 3 feet back. So that's why the placement is there, is in the front. And then you can see between the two side doors is the whole staircase that went downstairs. So that's not even an option to have anything there. And then in the back of the building is the sushi bar. So there's no place for the garage to also go there. Sure, sure. It's just an open air feeling. Yeah, just so the restaurant comes out and it'll open to the patio. Yes, but we do have to have, per the health department, we have to have a screen or we have to have air curtains so that the bugs and stuff can't fly in. But the most part is, yeah, to open it up for the patrons and stuff, and just have the feeling of the restaurant open on, you know, beautiful days and stuff. And hence the reason for our outdoor patio. As we all know, we're in the pandemic right now.
Caroline, turn on your mic when you talk, please.
I'm sorry. Okay.
You know, hence for the outdoor patio, I mean, we see around Geneva everywhere, we have to have it. You know, with this COVID thing going on, I mean, that's how most of these restaurants survived. I don't know how long this is going to be around. Wish I did, but, and also on beautiful days.
Roof decks.
What's that?
Roof decks.
Yeah.
To be the-
Hey, that's next. We won't bring that up at this meeting.
Oh, good, that's good. Okay, going back to the garage door. I mean, will it open and close?
Yes, it'll open straight up and roll up.
So that when you close for the night, you'll put it back down?
Yes, yes. And if the weather's bad, it'll be closed or,
I see.
yes. Yes, it'll be a normal operable garage door. It won't have a garage door opener in it where we're hitting a button or anything. It'll just
Okay.
have the tracks inside that match.
And then on that historic wall, what will be removed to put in the garage door?
The air conditioner unit that's coming down will be gone. And then I believe there's one window that's gonna be gone. And when we open that garage, or I take down that chase, I also wanna clean that brick up, because that brick is the original, and that's what I wanna do some of the infills with,
I see.
because I can't match that. So at least when we're done and we paint it, everything is gonna look the same.
I see. Okay, thank you.
So that was that. The exterior stairs is a necessity. I need an escape route, so that's a necessity. And that's kind of it. I mean, we want to keep the theme of the building that we have. This is our third one, and he kind of showed you the pictures of it before. I know picture doesn't do it justice because there was no lights on in the building or anything when he took those pictures. So, but it's not, that's clear glass also, that's not tinted glass. So we're basically just trying to keep the theme of, what the buildings the restaurants that we've done already. That's kind of it as a whole. But whatever questions you have, I'm more than happy to answer.
I have a few questions about scope.
Yes.
The first one is, you said you're gonna paint the brick. What brick are you painting?
We want to paint everything.
Including the face brick that's on the front?
Yes.
Okay.
We want to paint the Roman brick too.
Okay, what about the concrete below the foundation,
Because it was in bad shape, we wanted to. I can't patch it without it looking probably worse than it does. You could try to skim coat it. The problem with skim coating something, I don't know how well it'll bond. And we also don't want to have it go through a couple seasons and all of a sudden it's flaking off and then it's an issue that we're, maintaining that lower stone. Or lower,
concrete?
stone look. Yeah, concrete.
Okay.
I guess for me, painting the brick is an obstacle for me. It's mid-century modern, and I would think that Chicago common brick would be a feature of the mid-century modern, and especially the Roman brick, I believe that particularly needs to be unpainted. I understand that you have a certain look that goes from restaurant to restaurant, and that's what your people recognize. But I would like you to think about this being slightly different, and the purpose of being it slightly different is so that it fits into the historic area and its historic features are being recognized.
Yeah, so, some of just, I think Michael had a picture of like the side door where the tuck pointing, that's one of our big problems because I can't go tuck point. I can't, if I go infill a window that's being infilled, I'm never going to match the tuck pointing in the look. It's going to stand out worse. I think you had a picture of like, you can see the top left, you can see where they tried to mortar in the joints, like Michael said. They didn't do them the same size. I'm
Or the
never
same
going to match
color.
the mortar. So any of those infill areas are going to look worse.
I think, I'm sorry, Carolyn, were you done?
Yes, I am done.
Okay, thank you.
For now. Thank you.
No, no, I just wanted to say, I don't know that I have a problem with the painting of the concrete block. And it looked like on the graphic that you had shown us, the color-coded one, Michael, that it was the face brick and the side brick were staying the same and that the concrete block was what was being painted. If you ended up painting that Chicago common brick on the side, that was something that was never meant to be seen, and now it is. I don't know that there is a really historic reference for that, but definitely the face brick I feel should stay where in the finish that it is, just because it is that historic material that's part of that mid-century face. So, and that photograph right there in the middle where it shows kind of the face brick and then that brick on the side there, I thought that's what we were looking at, is keeping the face the same and then addressing the sides. And that's something that I would be in support of. But I don't know about painting the face.
I can let the owners.
Yeah, the face actually curves around to the side of the building a little bit, so then you're gonna paint 3/4 of the side of the building and cut it off just to try to. And if you're painting the concrete base along the bottom of it, it's then it looks like two separate buildings again. Where, again, like you guys mentioned, the side wasn't intended to be seen, so we're not trying to alter the building. We're not adding columns or trying to give it a different feel. We're just trying to bring it back to life with a solid uniform thing all the way around the building. Anywhere that we're replacing windows is just to get them up to date. The garage doors being added where there's going to be stuff removed already, so we're going to have a hole there. That the back door that he has on this drawing in particular is actually existing. If you go over there is 2 doors, so that's not. It's just being updated. It's not. We're not adding another door there or anything. But it's more just to make it look like it's one building instead of it's very chopped up right now. I mean, there's 4 different colors going on the side, and for me to paint it, up to just a portion of it, and then the front's going to look completely different. It just, to me, it doesn't seem like it's a whole.
Well, to me, even reading this, it almost looks as though the paint selected was intended to coordinate with the face.
We had that paint, at our other buildings before we even knew about this building, so it wasn't intended to. That does kind of make it look very similar, but I would say that other brick is more of a brown, where it's called iron ore. It's just a dark gray, and it's not as dark as like my images in the pictures made it look, or maybe even that swatch. It is a dark gray, but it's not
Not that
It's
dark.
not black. It is
Well,
not black.
I think that there's conflicting interests, one of which is, your brand and what that looks like from location to location. Our interest is maintaining the district and making sure that we're preserving what was historic to that space.
Okay.
Lisa,
If
this
I
is-
could interject.
Mr. Chairman, may
Yes,
I
sir.
make a few comments, please?
Yeah, we can, we can all take our turns if, I think. George or George.
Initially when I saw this, and I guess I was speaking as an architect, I struggled with this from the get-go. I saw the reference to mid-century modern, and looking at the site and looking at these drawings, I was trying to think about what is the essence of that particular category, and when I see that block two-story building in the back, was that built at the same time, Michael?
No, it was not.
Again, it was under construction when the fire occurred.
Okay, well, which kind of explains some of it, but character-wise, the east elevation is the major focus here, it seems like, but actually, in my mind, it is the storefront that would typify this mid-century modern. And I know you're stuck with it, but if we're trying to preserve the essence of that, it transcends just the shape and the size of the windows. Michael, could you go back to, you had points there, probably a dozen or so, that, not that one, the elements of, there we go. Okay. In my mind, all those components typify this particular style of architecture and represent that period. And to pick or choose one or two to say, well, that's nice, but the other ones really, from my perspective, I think that we do need to stay true in image to a variety of these components, not simply just the shape. And one that we all know is there wasn't any, that I remember, it's a little before my time, but anodized aluminum was not typically around at this time, which is why we would see the aluminum framing on there, which again typifies some of the other buildings that Michael showed earlier. And to say, oh, well, the Roman brick is, it's dark and we want to paint it to something else. I think that the only thing that really typifies the character of this period is that storefront in that small portion of the east elevation that wraps around. And I would certainly like to see more of the character of that preserved than just the fact that the building is still standing, and it seems like everything else, I'm paraphrasing, but just about everything else, element-wise, is being either changed or modified. And my concern is that would significantly diminish the character of that. The east elevation, what can you say about it? I mean, when I look at it, there is some symmetry, though, in the window openings the way they are, and that's nice, but again, I don't think that we would ever find in a building of this period a roll-up garage door as part of the elements. I just I struggle with that a little bit as well, whether it's painted or not. That's a tough one, but I'm just generally concerned, I guess, that we may be destroying a lot of the character of what typifies this period with some of the changes that are being proposed.
Is it relevant that the garage door is on the side where it wasn't even intended to be visible? It's not like we're doing roll
Well,
up.
I don't think,
facade or-
being kind, I don't think anything can hurt this elevation, given what I've seen. In fact, what I wondered after I saw, where are you going to put the dumpster?
in the back where the other
be
existing
in the
dumpers
back
are.
corner.
Okay, I mean, here, it's like a design element, you know, it just,
Oh, yeah.
the other thing, though, that I thought was a little strange, and my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be, but I see this one little snippet of fence illustrated on that east elevation.
That just, because if we put the whole fence on the drawing, then everything just blends in with each other. So he just did a section showing the fence.
I know, but what we're interested in is the imagery of how it would represent itself. And when I saw that one little thing there, I'm trying to get, and I think we all are to some degree, a mental picture or an image of what this is going to look like when it's finished.
I think that's why we kind of wanted to show you the picture of
Yeah.
the existing building, because if I draw that fence across there, all you're gonna see is another black line on a black print on a black disc.
That does have a black fence on it. It's really hard to see. I'm sorry about the image quality, but
That's why we do
That
the
has a
snippet on
fence
there.
on it?
there is a fence on the patio, which is by those umbrellas currently.
But it's a different style than this.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's more to match the windows essentially. It's kind of gridded up as the windows and garage door are. It's uniform. What we're trying to do is remain uniform. And with the side, like I said, you have 4 different colors going on there, different materials. Where if it was to be painted, it could appear as one larger building.
Why did the window change that fenestration on the east elevation on the south end near there were 2 individual windows there that they're proposed to be taken out for one larger. I understand the garage door as to why functionally that would be required, but what was the need to reconfigure those windows near the 2-story building?
That one in the back there?
No, that one there and the other one apparently is removed.
That one is a air conditioner unit sticking out of a wood framed thing in the window.
It's not a
That's a portable air
window
conditioner
opening?
unit sticking in the window. It's a wood, the window's gone. They wood framed a piece of paneling and it's it's a portable air
But
conditioner.
it is a punched opening, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Michael, go back to the east elevation of the way it looks now, please, so we can kind of flip back and forth. Ah, I see where the dumpster is.
Where the dumpster
Yeah, right
is,
where the
yeah.
dumpster is.
Oh.
That's where the other
okay.
door is
That's,
too.
that's an in-framed, yeah. About in the middle of the dumpster.
Okay, but it was a framed opening at one time.
Yes.
And there was a window
Yes.
more than likely to it. So why go from 2 individual windows to the one?
That is a garage door that opens up to the sushi bar so people can sit outside of it and be like a pull-up, essentially, dining area on our
That's
patio.
another garage door?
A half roll-up
It's a
with like
4 foot by 8 foot.
So if you're not familiar with the concept of BASH, and you didn't explain that, BASH stands for Burger and Sushi House. So the restaurant's divided into 2
two kitchen areas.
two kitchen areas,
essentially.
basically, two food venues. So the sushi bar, the idea of having this window with the operable units, so that sushi bar is available right there, so people like to watch the experience of sushi, what have you, being prepared. So that's the question is that the existing windows are higher than what the sushi bar preparation area would be. So this is a matter of function to what the restaurant sells. It's their menu item.
So there is a good reason for it then.
And I think sorry I had to step out, but I think going back to the framed windows being black, that's why we really want to make the storefront black. We don't want to have anodized silver in the front of the store and then everything else is black. And you can't do an anodized silver garage door. It's not available.
I
mean,
I
anodized-
beg to
the
differ on
black
that.
goes with
but-
the-
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
see them all the time.
Yeah,
I should say it's not anodized, but it's silver, but that doesn't go with the theme of anything that we're doing.
Yeah.
and what our existing restaurants are.
Well, and I guess that was my initial point. It seems like we have conflicting themes here. One is your imagery for your restaurant and that, and the other is to preserve the character in the historic district of a mid-century modern structure. And I'd like to see a little bit more harmony between the two than to just say, that's not in keeping with,
Yeah.
with our
So on the-
restaurant and design philosophy.
So on the front, I don't think we're adding anything to change the character of the building.
The window frames
Well, the
are.
paint, the changing of the color of all the framing of the windows, I would beg to differ on that.
Okay.
Okay. Michael, could you put on the slide with the color sections for the east wall? Bingo. Okay. I don't disagree with, well, first of all, let me ask you a couple of questions here. Are you proposing that the large two-story building and the side of the east side, they're all going to be painted the same color?
The whole,
Yes.
the whole thing to make it a uniform building.
Okay. So here's the thing, is that I understand clearly what you're talking about as far as the brick infill, making everything look nice, whatever, because it's already been chopped up and hasn't been done nice over the years. I get that part. So as far as the Chicago common brick, if you're going to paint that brick and the concrete block building all the same color to have a uniformity going, I have no problem with that, okay? Because once again, it doesn't look that good. However, the fascia brick looks good, okay? And the fascia brick is going to work with your darker mullions and framing for the glass. And contrary, that dark brick, the river brick, only comes over about 8 feet down the side of that wall, basing that overhead door is 16 feet wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it only comes over about 8 feet of that wall, which is not halfway down or a quarter down. So you're going to have 2 colors on this building, not 4. You're going to have the color of the brick up there, which I think looks great. I looked at it tonight before I came in here. And then that whole rest of the building is going to be uniform. And as far as the concrete along the base, if that needs to be that same color as you have the side to kind of tie the front and the sides together, I don't have a problem with that. I get what you're doing. However, that brick there that we show up there on the top left, that I feel needs to stay, and I feel that also is going to work with the theme and the color of the building, and also with the modern look of the building. And it's original, it's in good shape, it hasn't been torn apart. The side of the building I get, okay, because there's been a lot of bad brickwork done on it, and I could see wanting to cover that over and make it all look uniform. But for myself, and I think a couple of the other commissioners, the brick on the front face, which is the true character of the modern look building, needs to stay.
Are you suggesting painting the concrete underneath it then, since it
Correct.
comes to
Correct.
a halt? Okay.
Have the concrete under the front there tie into the side. You get it? Get where I'm going?
Do you have that side picture that shows it, like,
It shows the front elevation of the existing.
it's
It's your photograph
Yeah.
of the outside.
Keep going. So you see along the
Might be
base?
one
Okay.
down.
yeah, there's one closer.
Okay. Okay, back,
I'll go forward.
forward.
Right there.
Okay, right there. Okay, so you see where the river brick comes in? And then you have the concrete below it.
Yeah, it slowly slopes from the pitch of the sidewalk.
That ties the front and the back in with your color scheme. We keep the natural brick there. And it also tie in with the dark that you're going to be doing around the windows. And if I don't think that's a fair
What about
compromise,
the
I don't know
black
what it is.
framed? What about the aluminum?
Fine,
Yes.
but that's my opinion.
Okay.
Don, do you have anything to add?
I have a quick question. It's not
Sure.
really in regards to anything we're talking about, but Do we know when like that awning was put on that building?
It can be removed
I
in
don't,
my
I
mind.
don't remember, but I remember it always as Viking office supply. I never remember it, if it ever had an awning or not.
I don't know if Viking awning had the awning, but the awning went on sometime between 1984 and 1990.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it wasn't always there. You don't have to put an awning. You can put an awning.
Are you planning on taking the awning off?
We weren't, but if you're talking about the exposed brick, we talked about it a little bit. If depending, we were kind of worried about how big the sign can be, and I think Michael was checking it, but I think it's 40 square feet on the front. We're not sure about the side. We would maybe entertain leaving that brick and taking the awning down because, I mean, the awning's great for people to stand under, but it's kind of ruining the character of the building too. From what it was back in its day when it was an ace.
It doesn't enhance the architecture of the building at all.
No, it actually covers up a lot of it.
Yeah.
That opens the question for the integrity of the brick when that awning's removed, though. I don't know how exactly, to be honest, I have no idea how it's secured, if they went overboard or if it's just a few that we can make it look nice or not. You know, I can't speak for that because it's still there. But something else to think about, like, you know, leaving it unpainted, but then you have a bunch of patch jobs on it, and
I think if you're careful with the patch job, I don't think it's going to be an issue.
I think just to clarify that, one reason they said, I mean, we just dealt with an 1854
Yeah.
building they matched mortar on. So if you can do an 1854 building, I think the commission feels there's a way to probably match mortar pretty closely on a 1952
Yeah, it's not like,
building.
I mean, we're putting some holes depending on where they drilled them. If
Yeah,
they drilled them in the
exactly.
middle of a brick, then it might be an issue, but if they use the mortar joints, then
I would imagine they use the mortar joints.
Well,
Most people
yeah.
go into the mortar joints a lot easier
Yeah.
than the brick.
I would guess from looking at the historic photograph, and I don't remember where that is in here right now.
It's in the
I
beginning.
think it was in the very beginning of, 2 or 3 sheets of it.
So you can see that they had face-mounted signage on there at one time too.
Yeah.
Typically, until 70s when people quit caring about things like that, a lot of those lettering were designed to go into the grout joints and the mortar joints. So hopefully that's the way
Right.
they did it. But there's likely some minor repair. But I think what I'm hearing is that if there's a compromise or it can be designed into your signage and what have you, that I think the preference is really trying to keep one of the few minimal elements of the
Right.
historic building
Yeah.
intact is what I'm hearing. It is a compromise and everybody recognizes that. But again, I think the preference I'm hearing is to try to save that face brick and match it in with your color and combine it. So
I mean, the only thing I can say about the sign, besides it being approved, is we could do some kind of a back plate on it. If we're that Ace Hardware, if they actually.
Yeah, and you can
letters
cover
into
up.
the brick and we can't fix the brick and it's an eyesore, we could do some kind of.
I'm not really worried about the Ace Hardware. I'm worried about the awning going around the whole.
I don't think
it
the
could
awning
be
around
fine.
usually those aren't that invasive of a material to
Yeah, it
go
just
on.
depends who does it.
Yeah, it depends, but
right.
I guess from my viewpoint, I mean, there are some people that think that the east elevation is historic in its own right, which it's been there a long time, but I look at it also that it was, if it was using Chicago common brick, they never thought it was going to be shown because
Right.
that was not a decorative item. And I think as long as we keep the storefront around, I would rather you use the anodized aluminum, because the clear anodized aluminum, because I think that's in keeping with the character of the storefront. It'll go with you're not changing out the door. The door is going to be silver to begin with, right?
So they were-
No, we were
It's
changing the door out and
replaced.
everything.
The
The slide by
front,
door, it's gonna be another slide by door.
you are changing it out.
We're
I thought
keeping-
you were going to salvage that door.
No, what he said, they were keeping it, but what he meant, and I almost correct him, they're keeping the double door, sliding door
okay,
configuration.
okay.
But I think that's
Keeping the
direction.
same configuration.
Okay, so you are changing the whole storefront out.
We're changing the whole storefront.
Okay.
It's just, it's not safe, that door
Sure.
doesn't even work and.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would rather have it clear anodized. I think that's I think you've really gone the extra mile to get it within the, and I think if you just did that portion, I think it would be the way that it was, and I don't think it's false to say that you're using a new material, you're using an updated to make it.
No, I think we were more, I mean, that storefront's costing us $150,000. And if it's costing us that much money, we want it the color that we wanted, I think. I think that's the big thing. If we're gonna spend it and we're gonna update it, then we might as well just leave that until it falls out onto the sidewalk.
Well, I don't think.
There's no, it's not safe, but why would we dump that much money in and then we don't even get the color that we wanna do? The brick, I kind of.
Well, we're looking at the long term of this
Right.
building. I mean, that's what we're here to look at. And so we look at it as that building's been there since 1954 or 52.
Yep.
And it's looked a certain way and it has a certain character. And I think that, we're trying to keep that character. And I think that the character would change if you went to the dark bronze anodized versus the clear anodized. I mean, I don't think, as an architect, and I'm a registered architect in Illinois, and I don't think that would be discongruent. I mean, I think people would get it. I think they'd see it and they'd get it. And using dark bronze all the way across the back, I don't think anyone would have a problem with. And I wouldn't have a problem with. Don, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Chairman Zomer, maybe to be open to the anodized aluminum versus the black. I mean, I do like the look of your other store, or assuming they all look like that. It's just something I personally like, but it doesn't really fit. Maybe a compromise would be to, consider the anodized aluminum. Not have a,
Again, I think it's just more of the uniform look. We're
Right.
having the staircase that's required is a black staircase.
Right.
The windows we want to. It's clean. It's not. I get where you guys are coming from. I'm not saying I don't understand what you're saying. I'm just, having a silver in the front and black on the side, and the silver comes around to the side. It's just a lot of different things going on, and then the color we're trying to do would match the fencing that we would put up around the patio that's required. So it's just
sure.
Yeah.
everything goes together, not
Yeah.
just bits and pieces.
I look at it more as that storefront and the Roman brick. That is the element that we want to sell, or we want to keep. And I think that if you went to a clear anodized, it would be as it was intended from the start. And I think that it's one design element. I don't think it's discongruous to have that part as one separate element and then the back be a different element.
Just something, listen everybody, I'm just throwing something out here. I'm just looking at your floor plan, which I have up. It looks like your patio is ending at about where the transition between the two bricks that you're talking about. So I'm just, for listening everybody, it sounds like there's already a natural break you're creating with where the patio is ending. And I'm not telling you have to, I'm just listening everybody. I'm just saying, it does somewhat make sense from what I'm hearing being discussed, that from your patio back creates a whole new vibe that ties into the front, but the front, whether it's the clear anodized or the black, but I think you've already said something with just where your patio is at. I don't know if there's going to be landscaping or a waiting area or whatever there, but it does seem like you're already making a break with your new design, kind of respecting where the historic storefront is just by the location of your patio. I don't know if that was intentional.
I think it's going to have to get pushed a little to the south due to a handicap spot that has to be there. So there won't be a clean break per se. I'm not saying it's close, but it's not going to be. We're breaking it right here.
Lose like
from
3 feet off of that to get the ADA handicap parking spot.
So then you're gonna move the door then?
the garage
door's
door's
just gonna-
already
yeah, it's right there.
shifted that
It's-
way.
it's a foot or
The
two.
door would have to move if,
We're not losing a lot right there.
The door might just shrink
We have
a
it
little.
centered in between the posts, like I said, and we have like 20 feet in between the posts. The door is 16 feet. We were centering it, but I can push it to the back 4 feet. It doesn't as long as I don't structurally get into the column that's supporting the steel beam for the roof.
Okay.
But it's basically in the same location.
I don't see any, all I see is load-bearing masonry on there. I don't see any columns.
So there is.
No,
Those little, oh.
Well, the steel's
steel
not
across
located
from
on,
west to east, yeah. It's on, it would be where each, little dot is,
yes.
it would be where each dot is, they shoot across. Yeah, those little dots,
Yeah,
that's
one,
the
two,
support
three.
poles,
Oh, I see.
They're basically, that's,
Can we
that's
see
steel
on this
going the small span.
west to east,
Which,
yes.
which little dots?
There's a line of steel there that goes, I assume you go side.
And the steel actually goes, yeah. This,
Yeah, that way.
Okay.
I see, okay.
So it's not the columns in the wall then? it's-
No, but that big I-beam is actually sitting in that wall.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. Getting back to the two color issues.
Okay.
Paul, did you say that was
Clear anodized.
Clear
Well,
anodized.
let's just say silver
Okay.
and black is
But
fine.
silver and black are complementary colors. There's not going to be any. There's no clash between silver and black. I mean, we're not talking about orange and green.
I guess from being a builder for over 40 years, I mean, I look at it and I was like, I don't put white windows on the side of my house and black in the front.
But we're not
I
talking
don't
about
switch.
that.
No, and I understand that, but I think as Cody's saying, for a uniform look, we just want it to look the same on the side of that building. And it, basically, if we keep it the clear anodized, I mean, it looks identical. We haven't done anything to it. I mean, it looks the same. That's why,
Well,
I mean,
that's
the
kind of what
million-
we're.
Historic preservation, that's the nature of our commission.
Right.
Yeah, they,
So, and, you know, you made a statement before that, you know, it's gonna cost you $150,000 to redo the front of the building, and that if you don't get your choice of color, you'll just leave it with the existing structure as it is?
No, I didn't mean it in that, but I mean, we're
That's what
spending,
you
so
said.
we'd like to have the color that we want, since we're spending that much money, I guess. If you-
well, I know, but you said, well, then I'll just leave it the way it is and let
No,
it
well,
be.
well,
And then you
Those are your
excuse me,
words,
but
not mine.
I can't leave it that way because it's not safety, but we would really like to
Okay.
have the color we want, since I meant just because we're spending that much money on it. That's an expensive storefront. And again, if it was safe, we would keep it, but it's not safe, so.
So if
So
it
no,
was,
the storefront is going.
so if it was safe, you would keep it with the silver.
We didn't have intentions of spending that much money. We would have left it as it is. And then at that time, if something broke on it, then we probably would have came to you with the intentions of changing the color to the way we want.
You see, but my point is, you just stated that if it was safe, it was a good structure, you would have kept the silver and still done the black on the side.
We would have requested to have it powder coated black, to go with what we're trying to do. I would have liked to keep them, but I understand why I can't. At our old location, we actually did that. We painted the existing ones black. I didn't replace them because it was a huge expense, which was also an historic building. But
Well,
It was safe too.
you know, I understand you all want to theme your buildings. I get that part, you know, because you have a corporate look, you have a business look. I get that part. But there are many cases where sometimes you have to make an exception based on local requirements and local wishes. Okay? You know, I'm not a builder, I'm not an architect, okay? But I've been involved in corporate structures, okay, for automobile dealerships all around the country. And we have, some corporations have specific guidelines, and some communities have specific guidelines. And there's a community in California that every building's got to be brick, which doesn't go at all with the corporate guideline I was working with, but guess what? The building's brick, okay, to go with the theme and the historic character of the area. So, you know, I think with what I'm hearing from some of the other commissioners, and I don't disagree with Chairman Zomer, is that, you know, you're gonna have, if it goes through with kind of the way everybody's talking, your building is probably gonna be about 90% of your look. And I don't think anybody will have any problem differentiating that from one of the other two BASH locations. Besides, you're gonna have your signage on the front of the building. I think taking the awning off is gonna give that front of the building a really nice look. More than I think it's tough to imagine, but if you looked at the old Ace picture, that'll look pretty cool with that Roman brick on the front. Yeah,
I think that'll be surprising. And when you take that down, I think you're gonna sit back and take a look and go, yeah, that's pretty cool.
I get that. I think it's hard for me to speak without my partner here, my wife, whatever. But you know, the brick, I think I get what you guys are saying. I understand it. It is a brown, and we're black and gray, so black shirt, brown shoes isn't always ideal. No
True.
offense. I'm probably wearing it right now. But,
We get it.
and then, but I guess it's not more about our look or our corporate look. What looks good driving down State Street in Geneva? A matching building that looks complete, or a building that, you know, hey, we finished part of it, and you know, but it,
That's open to opinion.
Yeah.
yeah. So
would
I'm just
think
throwing that
I
out
would
there,
think-
like, you know,
I would
it's-
think that if someone drove past, they'd say, "Wow, look, they really took some time and brought this back to what it was."
Right.
And then they did what they needed to do in the back to get it to work as a financial thing. And you know, I think that the overhead doors and like I said, I don't know whether that, in my mind, the facade that we should salvage is the one that is
Right.
the one that was designed.
Yeah.
The rest of it was a utilitarian structure.
Right.
But, yeah.
It's in his historic district. I mean, that's just what's happening here. And we have to preserve what is historic. So you have iron ore selected as this material and you think that it's not in keeping with what the brick finish is on the front. Well, maybe you do something that has some more brown or undertones on it, but still has that same general look. No one's going to ever confuse your brand.
They can't look at the three stores at the same time.
True.
I
So-
actually, when you're showing the two I'd have to go out there and see it in the sunlight, but from the picture, I thought it was
No, they do look close in the picture. They're off when you're out there.
yeah, I'm sure they do a little bit, but I mean, I don't know whether it's as jarring as what it would be, you know, I think that,
I'm not too hung up on the paint. I think I understand
Yeah.
where you guys are coming from. I respect that. It's now more the two different color windows. I understand you're trying to preserve the windows. I'm not changing the windows, strictly the support between the windows. You know what I mean? Like,
I do think it's admirable that you're going with the large window, the big format. I know that's not inexpensive, and that's probably why it's so expensive to do that. But I think that if you were gonna, you know, just take that one more step and say, okay, this is the way it has been for, I don't know, 70 years. So, what's that? 68 years almost. And so, you know, just go
it
that.
hasn't been the prettiest building in the last 68 years, though, either. I mean,
Well,
it's just, yeah.
Can I just ask a question of the commission and the
Sure.
applicants? Because I just want to understand, because we've had color discussions before and we've had material discussions. So as I'm listening to the discussion, I'm just trying to get in my mind what the commission's, how they're wrapping their heads around this. So when we've had an addition to a historic house, we encourage that to be done in materials of the 21st century, because it's new material being introduced to an old house, and we're not trying to do false historicism, etc. And I see both sides, and I know that, you know, if this were a state, if this was a state tax credit project, the state would require the clear anodized finished. That's very clear with what they've done with mid-century. But I'm just trying to look at both sides of this coin and try to understand this for myself and for the applicant and the commission. Since they are replacing the historic window, because that system can't be restored. I mean, there's nobody on earth who's going to touch a screwed together storefront system anymore. Nobody will do that. So since they are putting a 21st century modern storefront in, and they're conceding on the Facebook painting, is it reasonable, or is it follow our procedures that we've gone before, that this is a contemporary window that's trying to replicate a historic pattern, that it does make sense to set off in a different color because it's not the exact same system. It's a philosophical question at this point, but I think it's an important one because we're not no one's going back and restoring a 1952 Conair screwed together storefront system. We are going to a different type of storefront, trying to get the look and preserving the big windows or whatever. So it's not going to confuse anybody down the road that this is a 1952 window system, because it's definitely a 2021 window system. Does that make a difference in the way the commission looks at anything? I'm just trying to compare it to what we've done on some other cases that are totally removed from this, and how we've treated modern, again, think of a clad window that we've done in historic houses or whatever. I'm just throwing that out there for the commission to think about.
I can share with you, Michael, from my perspective, which is why I asked you to pull up the elements that characterized that period. And right there, it specifically stated that it was aluminum or whatever, however you phrased it on there. And so that was defined in your statement as one of the characteristic elements. And I agree wholeheartedly, you did not find period pieces in that era with anything but, whether you call it silver or raw aluminum or whatever, that was one of the elements. So I would find it hard to, since we're trying to keep as much of that character as possible, I'm not in love with it myself, but it is a defining element of that particular period.
And Michael, in the packet that you gave us, under standard 2 on page 7, it says the proposal to replace the existing clear anodized finish with a bronze tone finish is not consistent with the historic character of the storefront.
No, I understand what my professional opinion has been to you. I was trying to listen to the conversation and compare it to other examples. I mean, again, the standards are generalizations.
Within what we've done in the past in the way of windows and things like that, and if we knew they were going to change out the windows on another house, would we insist that they be a certain color, I guess?
Well, I'm sitting here looking at the SOI standards and saying that if something was, needs to be replaced rather than repaired, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. So if it's existing as this silver finish and it's deteriorated and it needs to be replaced, then it gets replaced with the same finish.
And I think going back to the characteristics of it, that's, again, with Michael, the glass that's in that building is offset to the front. So like the other channel where the glass is in the middle, the glass won't be offset at all. It'll still be basically in line with what's existing now, so it won't be protruded back or a step back where somebody could sit on the lip of that or anything like that. That's why that other Conair system, the glass is offset to the front.
Honestly,
That was keeping with the characteristics of
instinctively not reading this and hearing about, okay, all the windows are getting replaced and everything is new and it's all going to be black and it all has sort of the right visual look outside of that color. And I don't have a problem with that. I just don't want to set some sort of precedent that then, maybe allows for something that goes against the standards that we're supposed to represent.
I have a question on the front windows. Is there another window system that you can use that will more minimize the metal exposed and more maximize the glass?
I think that's what that is.
It's only
I think they've
3/4
already
inch
done that. I
difference.
think that's
Yeah.
right there. I don't think that's not a.
You can't not, because that's just 1/4 inch glass. Now it's
Yeah,
1
and
inch.
that is about a three and a. I don't think that's even 2.5 inches,
No.
which is what
The styles, yeah.
Yeah, because usually this stuff, when you start to go to a heavier duty thing, it's 2.5, 3 inches thick, and this is pretty thin. And it may be 1.5 or 1 3/4 there, but you're not going to get much more than this.
Yeah, and the uprights that are dividing the glass, we basically are matching all the exact same sizes. The styles that are going up are 2 inches. What's on the building right now is 1 3/4. But that's just the system. But those are just a little channel that separates the two pieces of glass.
Correct.
That's why we have so much deflection in them right now. So, but all the glass is duplicated and
In the same
pretty much
panels.
the exact same size and everything, just minus the different frame elements that it takes to make that glass.
I understand where she's coming from on precedence. We don't want to be an example for anybody. But back to, has there been situations in the past where you dictated the color of the windows that when you had certain situations like this?
Yes. Yes, we have.
Yes.
Primarily, it's been, again, where it's been a replacement window. We've dealt more with residential projects on this issue than we have
Probably
on
usually
commercial. but we
white,
did have
standard,
some.
any, I mean,
Yes. But they
how many colors can you get, I guess, on that then?
Oh,
so.
you can, it's
Actually, there's about
that's-
70, 80
Yeah, there's
colors
quite a
you
few.
can get. So, but they have had this, they have dealt with this question. That's why I brought up the semis. We have talked about this with other clad window replacements in residential primarily, not as much as in commercial.
Well, I think I see a pretty good consensus from the. Caroline, there's a little straw poll. Do you have a problem with the east elevation, or do you agree with what the other commissioners are?
Agreeing with the face brick being unpainted.
I'm thinking anything beyond the face brick, because I think that anything.
Oh, the east elevation. I'm sorry.
East
I was
elevation, yeah.
looking at south. Yeah. Everything that goes to the left of where
South.
the face brick stops.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about it, but I would agree to it.
Okay. George, do you have an issue with that?
No, as I said earlier, characteristically, there wasn't much architecture in that elevation.
It's pretty
I
utility.
really think you can really hurt it, and this is probably an improvement. I don't like the proximity. If there was one element, it's just the proximity of that roll-up door to our historic element, which we're identifying as that elevation. You know, I would be much happier if it was further south, but I understand that it affects your plan, and in a way of a compromise, I can live with it. But I think Michael is right, that the return on that fence area for the patio could help as further defining what would be the new elevation kind of from the historic street presence. And so that's a very long answer to a short question, but I can live with the other.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that the color of the fencing will be black.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Jewel, we haven't had any comment from you. Do you have any comments about this?
No, I'm just trying to keep up. Keep up with it all and just read through all these standards. So now I'm reading through standard 6. And in standard 6 it says, where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a distinctive feature, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. So is that also saying then that it needs to stay with
Silver.
the silver that it is? Mm-hmm. And what about the buildings that are across the street that are also of the same?
Silver.
They're all, it looks like they're all clear anodized or silver. And I think even when you look at the original picture, can you bring up that other photo? I think the reason, not the reason it's silver, but Yeah, it does, this does pop when it's silver. As you drive by, so.
Google Maps is a nice 360 of that whole area. Mm-hmm. That helps.
Did you say there's is there a parapet on the main part of the building, the lower?
Yes, that-
Oh, there is
The
a
actual
parapet.
roof is down,
Couple feet?
probably like to the top of where the A's are, but it's like 3 feet.
Oh, it is 3
Yeah,
feet,
There's
okay.
quite a bit.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
don't,
it's good up to your
yeah,
knees.
yeah. And it looked like you pulled your mechanical units far enough back that you won't have to have any,
I guess throwing this out here, and I don't want to get off another thing, but
yeah.
if you guys want us to do that silver, are you opposed if we do the rest of the building silver then? The garage door silver, the window silver?
Yeah, it's
Keep it all
got to be
consistent?
uniform, which
I
also
wouldn't have a
might
problem
change
with
the color
that.
of the
I mean,
brick.
I think that would be fine too. I mean, I don't,
Silver and gray goes fine.
yeah, I think it would pop.
We're just kind of hung up on just everything looking, I think, uniform.
Yeah, I might even end up wanting to change the paint
I
color.
understand the historical, but
Yeah. Yeah, I think you should try to match that brick as the color is what you should do.
yeah, I think actually just looking at his one slide when he shows the brick and the color.
Yeah,
The other brick sample shows that one. You can see that the brown brick is really more brown than
yeah,
it is next to the slab.
Right.
yeah,
It's actually browner, and that's just the shadow by the sample shows that it's more black.
yeah.
But if you were to make all the other doors and windows and roll up silver, matching with the front, you would get,
That's what's going to happen. If I have to keep the front silver,
you know, and
I
it's-
think for everyone's sake, and it's just going to look nicer. It really is.
you're going with the industrial look anyway. So whether you're dealing with silver or black, it's not gonna make a whole hell of a lot of difference.
And then this particular restaurant will be slightly unique from your others,
There you
and
go.
people will know
There you go.
we're in
What the hell is that
Geneva.
place?
We want to be,
Brand identification with all your restaurants is all gonna be in a cohesive.
Yeah, it's just, it's more than just, aesthetics. You just do something, this is how we do it, and this is what we like, and this is what worked, and it doesn't mean what you're saying won't work. I understand that.
It'll be close.
Not even close.
Oh,
It'll be beautiful.
But yeah, I mean, if you guys are hung up on the silver versus black, I would imagine, I will talk to my wife, I imagine the whole thing is going to be silver. I'm not going to, because you're coming around to the side, so, look at there, there's 3 feet between a silver and black finish, which is a window opening, I mean,
Yeah.
that just doesn't, sure, silver and black match, I understand that, but
But I think that, architecturally, I think that fencing is gonna help you more than you think it is.
George, you need to turn on your microphone.
About differentiating the two, but, again, yeah, from my perspective, it's the front, what occurs on the east elevation, whatever you do will be an improvement.
and I hope for your sake, when you take the awning down, that brick is just beautiful.
yeah,
And that
me
it
too.
just-
Me too.
I have a feeling it will be. I don't think you'll have a problem.
Yeah.
So to just sum things up, it sounds like silver and do not paint that brown brick. And then we got it.
Yeah.
And we're good.
Well, we'll put together a motion and,
Yeah.
Are we voting on something today?
yes, this is a permit.
Am I then, since there is no say in paint color, as long as I'm not painting that one brick, I'm not married to that iron ore color then?
Not at all.
Because I can't, I don't think I'm gonna do that same color if I'm going silver.
Okay.
Just out of
Yeah.
my instincts, but I'm not the boss, so.
I could suggest you match the brick color of the Roman brick, but
That's an
again-
option.
Again, something that works with that, I think is gonna work great. And, but again, I think it's common brick. It's gonna look better painted, I think. And I know we usually don't like painted brick.
I think if it was all one brick, it'd be another story. I wouldn't be
Yeah, exactly.
in such a hurry to get it painted. But it's not. It's not.
Go ahead.
All right, can I move something?
Do you guys have any more comments that you wanna make?
of course you know we want to get this approved.
Yes.
Can we have the option, if you guys approve it, that we'll do the silver, we'll do the Roman brick? And can we have the option, just to make sure on the black or the silver windows, that you basically don't care which way we go? We'll let you know which way we're going before we do it.
On the
on the rest-
non-storefront,
outside.
the other
Yeah,
windows.
yeah, I would say, I could personally see as an architect, I could see, there's a natural break there anyway. There's a natural break there, and you can kind of say, okay, this was what the show was, and this is all industrial back here.
Right.
So, but I don't have a problem with going with a dark window. Actually, I think the dark would almost look better, personally, on the backside.
I do as
The
well.
front side probably too.
Are the-
But
is
that's- but it's not preserving it,
I
but
know.
appearance-wise, I think it would look much better.
Yeah.
But I get it.
Yeah, okay.
On the roll-up door, what color are those transparent panels?
Everything's clear
Translucent?
glass, yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
clear
and then
again.
we don't do the air curtains, we do a roll-down screen.
Okay, but those aren't tinted, they're just straight
Nope,
clear
nope.
glass.
It'll almost look tinted if you have the screen behind it, won't it?
Yeah, the screen might have been down in my picture, which
Yeah.
is black, so maybe that's why it gave that tint look that you were seeing.
Yeah, that
Plus the
other
lights were off.
property, it almost looked like,
Yeah,
They were
it's clear
tinted.
glass.
Okay.
Everywhere will be clear glass. Okay,
Okay, did you have anything else?
we gotta get moving, so. Sit here and argue.
Does someone want to put together a motion? I'm looking at you, Lee.
Yeah, well, I was starting it, so I might.
I know,
Okay, so, I move to approve the exterior modifications to a mid-century commercial building at 124 West State Street with the understanding that the facade brick, the Roman brick, will remain in its current finish, and the facade glass, the glass at the front of the structure, be replaced, maintaining the existing aluminum style finish.
Aluminum color finish.
Clear anodized, I'd
Clear
say.
anodized
anodized,
finish.
Is like a silver, does it have to be exactly that sheen? I don't know what's available to me.
I think clear anodized might be your best. It
Yeah,
might be the best.
We'll take a sample. Chip,
Okay,
and
we'll
Yeah.
bring a sample in
We'll get
before we
as
do
close
it,
as we
then,
can
just to
to
be
the-
safe.
And then, I
And what was the? Did I
think
miss
we
it?
want to talk about the back, the east.
Oh, and the, well, and the backside, approving
The east elevation.
the painting of the east elevation brick and the concrete block. Wait,
The east elevation to be painted.
painted as proposed.
Just for clarification down the road, I'm gonna ask that you not call it the east elevation because there is block on the north elevation, it's just set back. So I would prefer you divide it by materials,
So
that the
the
common
chic-
brick and the concrete
common
block
brick.
be painted.
And the concrete block be painted.
Concrete block.
Are you sure you want me to make movements anymore? Because it sounds like a.
The only other thing I would add is that the window framing on the common brick and the concrete block can be either clear anodized or dark bronze.
It's actually black, but
Well,
I think that piece is anodized bronze, but that one is black. Yeah.
I think we're just saying that we're not
Yeah.
being specific
yes,
to that side.
yeah, that side is up to the, you better read that back.
The concrete base can be painted even around to the front to make it, okay, as long as I don't touch the brick, I just wanna be clear. Okay,
Brick is sacred.
I get it, I get
Okay,
it.
let me, just
It
before we
was
get a
where we were
second,
before, but.
this is what I have as a motion. Motion by McManus to approve the exterior modification to the mid-century building with the understanding that the facade, the brick facade, Roman brick, will remain in its current finish, and glass in front to be replaced, maintaining the clear anodized finish. The Chicago brick and the concrete black to be painted. Window framing on the common brick and concrete block can be clear, anodized, or black. Is that correct?
I mean, I guess we could leave it open to the applicant.
Yeah, at the applicant's discretion
Color to
or
be
something
selected by
like
the
that.
applicant.
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll drop off a sample still anyway.
Color to be,
So you have one.
Keep it simple.
okay. And then the second, who's second?
Second, do we have a
I'll second it.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's go with Hartman.
Yes.
Okay. McManus,
Aye.
Solomon,
Aye.
Stazen,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Zinke,
Aye.
and Chairman Zomer.
Aye,
That passes.
great.
Rock and roll.
Before we close, I know this question is gonna come up, so I wanna make sure. So they're gonna submit a sample of the storefront. Are you, as a commission, okay with me approving the finish, so it doesn't have to wait for another month?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
we don't want you to,
Thank you.
yes.
we don't want you to wait another month.
We trust you, Michael.
Uh-oh. It is gonna be
Thank you
orange.
so much for
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate
being
it.
patient with us.
No problem.
Thank you for
Thank
your,
you.
Thanks again.
thank you for your, what's the word?
Preservation.
Your ability to change your mind. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Compromise, yes, thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is the secretary's report.
Also, before that, for the record, there were no public participants who were asking to be recognized, just on the
Okay.
last case, so that goes into the public record. I have no specific staff updates. We are actually very busy with reviews of projects. It does look like the October meeting will be a fairly full agenda at this point already. It's filling up, so I hope that we have, everybody is going to be in town, or at least we have a quorum for the October meeting. Outside of that, I have no other updates for you. That's just questions from the commissioners.
I have, okay, and new business from the commission? Any questions or comments? How are they doing on the old Little Owl?
There has been no communication, at least from a preservation standpoint, with Little Owl for well over a month, so I don't know what the status of that project is at this point.
I do.
Oh,
What do you know?
The owners, the developer is the owner of the building, and according to one of my sources, they pulled out. They're trying to lease that space to someone else.
that may be news to the city staff, but I will pass that on tomorrow.
Well, yes, I got it from a fairly reliable source.
That is news that I don't have, so I will pass that on
What's
to
gonna
city
happen
staff
to the
and
building?
find out what's going on.
Well, they own it, so it's just that,
All right.
The Noble House, what's going on with the next door?
As far as I understand, the plan is to paint the exterior, which does not require a permit,
Okay,
and probably some new signage. But I've not had any other communication with them on any other details of that project.
It's been that way for at least 2 months, the way it looks now.
Yes.
With the brown paper, at least 2 months.
I don't know if there's work going on inside. I have not asked the building department if they've got an interior remodel. My understanding is that they were going to do an interior remodel.
Oh, really?
And then just paint the exterior once they got close to opening, but I don't have any details of that for sure, but I
Okay.
can find out.
okay. Anything else from the commission? Okay, with that, nothing from the public, right?
There is no,
No public? Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? We are adjourned.